Inside the Magic, show number 335 for September 4th, 2011. It is Sunday, September 4th, 2011. This is show 335 of Inside the Magic, and as always, I'm your host, Ricky Briganti. Got another great show packed with Disney and theme park news and a whole lot of fun. And before we get started, as always, I would like to invite you to visit InsideTheMagic.net. There you'll find all of our podcasts, videos, photos, news, articles, and so much more. And if you've ever have any tips, news, questions, anything you want to send in, you could write to me at ricky@insidethemagic.net or call and leave a message at 407-494-4ITM. That's 4486. And now, let's get on with the show. This week's episode of Inside the Magic is brought to you by Magical Travel. You can save up to $450 plus get a free character meal when you book a Disneyland vacation with Magical Travel. The offer is for travel through September 28th, so just a couple of weeks. You must book by September 24th, so jump right on that by calling Magical Travel today at 866-207-8387 or visit them online at magicaltravel.com to receive a free price quote, and be sure to mention Inside the Magic to receive your free Disney gift card for qualifying bookings when you book your Disney vacation with Magical Travel. And by listeners like you, thanks very much to Faye Elwood and Adam Kostopoulos, hopefully I'm pronouncing that right, and all of our monthly recurring donation subscribers and anyone who clicks through any of our affiliate links over on the website. Appreciate all of your support for the show. And now, let's start off the show with our trip around the world. It's been a pretty good news week this week for Disney and otherwise in the world of theme parks. Lots going on, lots to look forward to, so let's jump right in it by heading on over to Epcot, where this week a new vehicle of sorts was spotted running around the test track attraction. Running around the track, it is a blue painted vehicle. It's not actually a new vehicle. It seems to be a new paint job, something that Disney's apparently going to be rolling out across the test track in general. All those white cars, the test track looking cars, are slowly apparently going to be repainted in this first one that has appeared on the track is now a vibrant blue color with a Chevy logo on the front of the car. It's a glossy, high polished, shiny car now, and there's a lot of rumors surrounding this that perhaps it's more than just a repaint of the vehicles, that perhaps as we move forward, the entire test track attraction will actually be undergoing a whole kind of makeover. Perhaps it won't be a test track theme anymore. Perhaps it'll be a different sort of attraction that's actually focusing on the creation of cars instead of the testing of cars. But all of that's rumor at this point. Disney has not officially commented on this newly painted test track vehicle that's running around the test track. But if you head on over to Epcot, you should be able to see it and watch for it. It'll be the one blue one out of the fleet of white/grayish cars. And while we're talking rumors, here's another one that Disney, I'm sure, is going to announce at some point, but they haven't yet. Over at the Magic Kingdom, and I've mentioned this on a couple of shows before, there's something that apparently is going to be called the Sorcerers of the Magic Kingdom that Disney has not announced yet, but is very much in progress being installed, especially throughout Adventureland. Some people with keen eyes might notice some new speakers, some cameras, and even these special-looking keyholes being installed around Adventureland over recent weeks. Over at DiscussionKingdom.com, they actually have a lot of really great photos of these new additions to the park that don't quite do anything yet, but apparently will be part of the Sorcerers of the Magic Kingdom interactive game that'll take place throughout the Magic Kingdom, similar to the Kim Possible adventure over at Epcot, where you can interact with things and make things come alive. It's not clear exactly how it's all going to work in the Magic Kingdom quite yet, but somehow these keyholes that have been appearing along with speakers and cameras and hidden screens and all kinds of interactive elements will be showing up throughout the Magic Kingdom, and we'll just have to wait in the coming weeks/months until Disney is really ready to spill the beans on exactly what's going to be going on there. Next up, here's some news I'm not terribly thrilled about, and judging from the reaction when I posted this on Facebook a couple of days ago, not many of you are terribly thrilled with it either. Just a couple of days ago, it was revealed that Duffy the Disney Bear is going to be fairly prominently featured in Mickey's Very Merry Christmas Party this year. Not only is there going to be a Duffy meet and greet, but Duffy will also be in the parade, in the Christmas parade that takes place during that party. There was this whole sort of strangely written news sort of article on Disney's website, written first person from Duffy's perspective. If you want to head over to our Facebook page, there's a link to it there. I wouldn't even necessarily recommend reading it. Mickey's Very Merry Christmas Parties start quite early, November 8th, so a little over 2 months from now, run on select nights through December 18th. And if you happen to be a Duffy the Disney Bear fan, then you can look forward to seeing him at Mickey's Very Merry Christmas Party. Of course, in the meantime, you could see him over at Epcot. Regular meet and greets there. For me, I'll just kind of try to ignore him. Let's move over to Downtown Disney now, where Ride Makers has vacated their premises from Downtown Disney Orlando, at least the former Virgin Megastore location. They've moved over to the Marketplace side of Downtown Disney inside the Team Mickey store. They're kind of sharing a space there, and that's because Splitsville, which we talked about a few weeks ago, is on the way, now officially under construction at Downtown Disney in that former Virgin Megastore spot on the west side of Downtown Disney. Splitsville, there's some construction walls that have gone up around the building, and it looks like there's some new artwork on those buildings that kind of show a little bit of an understated look than what we previously saw. No more giant bowling pin and that kind of thing. But anyway, Splitsville, which is dining and bowling and nighttime entertainment, well, daytime also, but really focused on nighttime entertainment, will be opening at Downtown Disney here in Orlando in the fall of next year. And speaking of Downtown Disney, moving over to the Pleasure Island area, or former Pleasure Island area, I guess, the Adventurers Club, which has been closed for quite some time now, a couple of years now, I guess it's been, is now really, really closed. A lot of people were holding out hope that the Adventurers Club would be reopening, that perhaps Disney would find a way to keep it rolling. Well, this week, just a few days ago, some photos have surfaced from the inside where pretty much every prop throughout the entire Adventures Club has been removed. It's almost a gutted facility at this point. And on the outside, the old sign and a lot of the props that were outside as well have also been removed and sanded off, and it doesn't even say Adventurers Club out there anymore. So, yeah, it's really a done deal. The Adventures Club is really, really, really officially no more now. Meanwhile, the props were said to be heading on over to Hong Kong for use in their park there, and some have made it here and there. But if you're a fan of the Adventures Club, it's really doesn't look like it's coming back. So here we are, early September, and that means Halloween season is rapidly approaching. And, of course, as I've said many times, it is my favorite time of the year. And I think we're going to, I haven't decided exactly how we're going to be covering Halloween here on the show this year. I think we're going to do it a little bit different than we did last year. I know a lot of you really enjoy Halloween coverage on Inside the Magic, and I know some of you don't enjoy it quite as much. Maybe you're looking ahead to Christmas and don't care about Halloween as much. So for sure, I'm going to have plenty of Halloween coverage over at InsideTheMagic.net. In fact, all of that has already begun with many of the major Halloween events starting very soon. In fact, Mickey's Not So Scary Halloween Party starts next week, and a couple of weeks from now is when the other major theme parks in Central Florida launch their Halloween events. So it's all really ramping up now between now and the end of October. Also on Twitter and Facebook, in addition to the website, we'll be covering plenty of Mickey's Not So Scary Halloween Party, which I'll be going to next week, as well as Halloween Horror Nights at Universal and Hallowscream over at Busch Gardens, and perhaps a few others as well. But I haven't yet decided how I'm going to cover all of that here on the podcast. Once the events themselves start, I may include them here, might release a separate podcast. I don't know. I haven't completely decided yet. We'll see about that. It really depends on how many other things will be going on at the same time. time in the world of theme parks and all of that. But for now, there is some news to get to, which I am going to cover here because it is exciting news. This week, Universal Orlando unveiled all of the details for Halloween Horror Nights 2011. And really, instead of me running through all of those haunted houses here, and I'm rather excited about it, they all sound really excellent, I'm actually going to turn our attention over briefly here to somebody else who can tell you in a much more entertaining fashion all about the haunted houses that'll be coming to Halloween Horror Nights. It's actually show director Patrick Braillard, who offered us, along with a select group of fans and media outlets earlier this week, an early look at the lineup of haunted houses in a kind of a uniquely entertaining video, which I want to share with you right now. It's not if you're not a fan of the whole Halloween thing, this may not be for you, but I am, and so let's see a bit about what's coming to Universal Orlando for Halloween Horror Nights 21.
I'm Patrick Braillard, show director for Universal Orlando's Halloween Horror Nights. I have to give you all of the gruesome details about this year's event. You've been selected to get everything before the rest of the world. And that's something that we've never done before. All right, so let's get to it. We have 8 brand new mazes for you to experience this year. In Nevermore, The Madness of Poe, you're going to be trapped in the darkness and insanity of Edgar Allan Poe's greatest works. In The Forsaken, you're going to be surrounded by the vengeful souls of the 4th condemned ship that took part in Christopher Columbus's infamous voyage. Next, H.R. Blood and Guts presents Holidays of Horror. You're going to be joining creature feature host H.R. Blood and Guts as he presents a scare-a-thon of holiday-based horror films starring you. In The Thing, you're going to be able to experience the terror of the upcoming film before it hits theaters. You're going to come face to face with an alien being that will be able to replicate any living creature. Sauce and Steam, Into the Machine is the first time we've ever taken a scare zone and turned it into a house. In this mechanical nightmare, you're going to have crushing pistons and spinning blades. Beware. The In-Between is a 3D haunted house. You're going to go through an ominous portal and end up with creatures from your nightmare. In Winter's Night, The Haunting of Hawthorne Cemetery, vengeful spirits will haunt your every move. The last house is Nightingale's Blood Prey, where terrifying banshees will feed on the weak and the dying. And you. We have 6 all-new scare zones that you're gonna have to see to believe. Is that everything?
Not quite.
And there you have it. That's a bit of Halloween Horror Nights 21 at Universal Orlando, straight from Patrick Braillard, one of the show directors. If you want to see and hear the conclusion, the shocking conclusion of that video, you're going to want to head on over to InsideTheMagic.net, where I've posted that whole video along with this year's commercial for Halloween Horror Nights 21 and plenty more details about everything that'll be coming. I'm really excited. It looks like it's a lot of fun. Those haunted houses certainly sound like fun. And in addition to that, of course, just as with every year, Universal's featuring plenty of scare zones. There's actually 6 new scare zones this year, plus 2 shows and one new show, and then the return of Bill and Ted as well. The scare zones that are going to be featured at the event are Your Luck Has Run Out, which is going to follow the icon character this year, Lady Luck, through whatever kind of adventure she puts everybody through. Acid Assault will be an acid rain sort of themed area. Canyon of the Dark Souls will be a bunch of guys on stilts scaring everybody, most likely. I'm sure there's more to it than that, but that's what it sounds like to me. Grown Evil will be sort of an overgrown garden area of something or other. We'll see how that turns out to be scary. Then we've got We've got one called Seven, which apparently is going to feature 7 temptresses, as Universal says. We'll see what that's all about. And then the one I'm really looking forward to, actually, is something Universal's trying new this year called Night Maze, in which the scare zone apparently is going to be morphing and moving around throughout the night and changing every time you walk through it, and the scares will never be the same. I'm really interested to see exactly how they pull that off. Should be a whole lot of fun there. The other show that's going to premiere at Halloween Horror Nights this year is called Death Drums. Not a whole lot known about that other than it's going to have drums and perhaps some death. So we'll see what that is all about. Also, Hollywood Rip Ride and Rocket Roller Coaster is going to be open during the event this year, which is quite exciting. Been looking forward to riding that at night during the event as well. There's going to be an official mobile app coming out from Universal Orlando where you can have a GPS map and more information about the houses, so that should be handy as well. In addition, if we turn to California now, there's another Halloween Horror Nights that happens at Universal Studios Hollywood as well. A very different event. They kind of do their own thing despite having the exact same name as the one in Orlando. And if I can just run through the houses that are going to be there real quick, they're also going to have a house based on The Thing, the upcoming movie. In addition to that, there will be one based on Hostel, the film, Alice Cooper haunted house called Welcome to My Nightmare, one based on House of a Thousand Corpses, which is a repeat house this year, one based on La Llorona, which was a scare zone last year, turned haunted house this year, and another based on The Wolfman, and then the Terror Tram at Universal Hollywood this year is going to be based on Scream 4. So you'll get your fix of Ghostface out there, also in a new scare zone as well in Hollywood. So there you go, a bit about Halloween this year. I'm looking forward to all of it. It starts on September 23rd, pretty much everywhere. We've talked about Howl of Scream at Busch Gardens in the past couple of weeks. Also now out here at Universal Orlando and out in Universal Hollywood. It all starts September 23rd, so just under 3 weeks from now. And let's stick with California now, but jump back to the world of Disney, where 4 Disneyland attractions apparently now allow you to put your on-ride photos on the PhotoPass system. Tower of Terror, Splash Mountain, Space Mountain, and California Screamin'. It's a little bit different. It's not your standard PhotoPass card, but if you purchase a ride photo at any of those 4 attractions for $15, you can now get a digital download as well, or you can just buy the digital download if you don't want a print. But it's not quite exactly the same system. It's not going to work itself in the same way as all your other PhotoPass photos do, but it is a digital download that you can enjoy and, of course, share with everybody on Facebook or your friends or whatever. Here's some interesting convention news that could affect your Disneyland travel plans early next year. The popular convention WonderCon, which is in the same family of conventions that puts on the huge San Diego Comic-Con each year. The 2012 WonderCon show is moving to Anaheim, California. Normally it's in San Francisco, but the Moscone Center, where they normally put on that event, is going under some refurbishments and construction and that kind of thing, so they're unable to put on the show there. So they have moved it to the Anaheim Convention Center, which is where the D23 Expo just was. So this massive convention, WonderCon, which attracts somewhere around 50,000 people, at least it did in 2010, is going to be taking place in Anaheim March 16th through 18th of 2012. And as a result, it's going to be very crowded in the area. A lot of hotels will sell out. Certainly people going to WonderCon are going to probably go over to Disneyland as well. And so if you are planning a trip to Anaheim to Disneyland around that time, middle of March, you're going to want to be aware of that and definitely plan ahead and plan accordingly, because WonderCon will be in town. So Walt Disney World's 40th anniversary is a month away, a little less than a month, actually. October 1st will be the 40th of Walt Disney World, and Disneyland Paris's 20th anniversary is on the way early next year as well. So recently, public relations staff from both Walt Disney World and Disneyland Paris made a trip out to Belgium to take a peek at a pretty impressive display that's been up for a few weeks now, actually a couple of months now over the summer. It's an annual sand sculpture festival in Belgium that covers different themes each time around. But this time it was focused on Disneyland Paris, and this incredibly talented group of artists recreated many, many buildings and attractions and characters from Disneyland Paris, as well as from just Disney and Pixar in general. And Disney became very interested in all of this. It wasn't an official Disney event or anything, and decided, not 100% decided, but are interested in bringing similar displays possibly to both Walt Disney World and Disneyland Paris in 2012. It's not a done deal yet, but the creators of these sand sculptures certainly hope to bring it to both Paris and Florida, and possibly tie it into the 40th of Walt Disney World and the 20th of Disneyland Paris. You can head on over to InsideTheMagic.net to check out some photos and video of the really impressive sand sculptures that are currently on display in Belgium for another week or so. And if you happen to be in Belgium, you might want to check it out because it is still available for you to go see in person for, like I said, another week or so. And speaking of anniversaries, Tokyo Disney Sea just celebrated either yesterday or today its 10th anniversary, and apparently numbers of attendance numbers are actually looking very good there, following the very much down attendance due to the tragic earthquake and tsunami a few months ago that temporarily closed that resort completely. Well, it's all back up and running now, and apparently everything is moving in the right direction there. In fact, those in charge of Tokyo Disneyland Resort are hoping that the whole resort will turn profitable once more in the very near future and keep moving upward as things move forward. So all good news there. And while we're talking overseas, let's talk a little bit more Halloween of something that I am very, very jealous of. Hong Kong Disneyland puts on one heck of a Halloween each year, and it just seems to be getting better and better. This is something that I would love to see come to the United States. If you go to hkdisneyland.com/loseyourhead, you'll find the Halloween site, the official site for Hong Kong Disneyland's Halloween, and their festivities include Haunted Hotel and Ghost Town on Main Street, Cursed Jungle and Adventureland, along with the Headless Horseman, Space Mountain, Ghost Galaxy, and Tomorrowland, and the really amazing-looking Glow-in-the-Park Parade. It all looks like a really fun balance between a bit of scary here and there, but also a bit of fun and not so scary here. It's kind of a mixture of the two. You can go to Fantasyland and stay out of the scary stuff, or you can go into Adventureland to get the more scares, and, Space Mountain Ghost Galaxy is somewhere in between. I was curious, and I asked in a poll over on our Facebook page whether all of you out there also would like something like this to come to the United States. In fact, I asked, would you want to see Disney introduce a bit of a scary element in addition to their not-so-scary element? And out of, I don't know, maybe around 200, right around 200 people responded on our Facebook page, and out of that, about a quarter of you said, yes, please add scary to Disney's Halloween. A little more than half of you said, yeah, we want scary, but not necessarily replacing not-so-scary. Leave the Mickey's Not-So-Scary Halloween Party at Disneyland and the Magic Kingdom, and then put a scary Disney event in another park, and then less than a quarter said, no, I don't want any scary. So overwhelmingly, the answer is yes. People want some sort of element of scary, which I agree with. It doesn't have to be Halloween Horror Nights, blood and gore and all of that, but just a little bit of, a little bit of spookiness, which, of course, Mickey's Not So Scary Halloween Party at the Magic Kingdom and Mickey's Halloween Party at Disneyland don't have whatsoever. By definition, those are supposed to be, fun, festive for everybody, and that's fine. I think those parties are a lot of fun, and they certainly have their place, but clearly, judging from Hong Kong Disneyland, their event there, and then the new events going on in Paris this year and in recent years, there is a possibility for Disney to put on something that is spooky and scary, but without going over the top and gory and gruesome and that kind of thing. So I guess we can just continue to be hopeful that maybe someday Disney will introduce that element to Halloween in the States, and in the meantime, I'll take all my Halloween fun and attention over to the other parks in the area. So more big news coming out of Disney. This is worldwide news, but not to a specific park. Actually, this week, Adventures by Disney, the Disney group that will take you and book a trip to go in many places around the world, guided tours, that kind of thing. Well, in 2012, they have announced there's going to be 2 new privately guided itineraries for Adventures by Disney with 2 new destinations. The first is Greece. They're adding to their lineup. A trip to Greece with Adventures by Disney will include going to the Parthenon, the volcanic island of Santorini. You'll do some Greek grape stomping when you visit a winery, go to the Aegean Sea, as well as Crete, and enjoy some tzatziki, cheese making, and Greek dancing. Sounds like a whole lot of fun to me. And the other newly announced destination for Adventures by Disney for 2012 is northern France, where you'll go to Monet's Gardens. You'll also visit the last known residence of Leonardo da Vinci, have dinner at the Louvre, and visit Normandy Cider Route and spend the night in an authentic chateau. Visit Versailles, the Mont Saint Michael Monastery, I'm sure there's a French way of pronouncing that, Omaha Beach, and the Bayeux Tapestry. I'm sure that's not how you pronounce it. Bayeux, B-A-Y-E-U-X. I don't know. I can't pronounce French words, but regardless, it sounds like fun. In addition, Adventures by Disney has enhanced 3 of their itineraries for Australia and Tasmania, Galapagos Islands, and their London and Paris itineraries. You can find out much more about all of that over at adventuresbydisney.com. Now, let's turn to the world of movies, where recently The Rocketeer celebrated an anniversary, and if you were a fan or are a fan of that movie, you'll be happy to know that it is finally coming out on Blu-ray. It's going to hit Blu-ray home release on December 13th. You can pre-order it now, and actually, if you want to pre-order it and support Inside the Magic at the same time, I'm making it this week's featured item, so if you want to check the show 335 section of the website over at InsideTheMagic.net, you'll find it there. Click through that link to Amazon, and you'll get a great movie in a great format, and you'll support the show as well. In other movie news, newer movie, in fact a movie that doesn't exist and isn't even in production yet. Disney, as we've said before, is apparently developing a movie based on the Matterhorn roller coaster out at Disneyland, and the movie's going to be called The Hill. And a little bit more information has come out about what this movie will surround. Apparently it's going to follow 5 adventure seekers as they, well, what else, as they scale a mountain. And along the way, apparently they will be encountering some supernatural elements that, of course, will include the infamous Yeti that has haunted the Matterhorn Mountain for many years now, and we'll have to see in what form the Yeti appears once that movie comes out someday. No timeline or anything like that quite yet, because it is still very much in development. Another movie that recently we reported that was kind of not happening due to budget issues with The Lone Ranger, starring Johnny Depp as Tonto, and director Gore Verbinski apparently still wants this movie to get made, so he is working on trying to make cuts to the budget and edits to the script for the movie in order to appease Rich Ross, head of the Walt Disney Studios, and anybody else who's telling him that he's spending or wanting to spend way too much money on this film. Apparently, the budget that he wanted for this Lone Ranger movie was somewhere in the range of $200 to $250 million, which is way, way, way more than Disney was willing to spend on this film, especially given that it's a Western, and they're feeling that perhaps, Westerns don't require that kind of a budget. So we'll have to wait and see if he's able to make enough cuts to actually make this movie get the green light for production. Let's turn to a little bit of merchandise now, where this is something that I vaguely had heard about and didn't realize that it's quite as popular as it is. Something called spirit hoods, which are animal-inspired faux fur accessories for men, women, and children. Well, Disney Consumer Products is getting into the spirit hoods game, if you will. They're going to be releasing this fall some spirit hoods inspired by Muppets characters, of course, just in time for The Muppets, the new film, to hit U.S. theaters on November 23rd. It's a limited time release of these spirit hoods that are going to be themed around Kermit the Frog, Miss Piggy, Animal, and Gonzo. They'll be available in kids and adult sizes, and the prices are going to start at $99 all the way up to $169, so they're not cheap. They will be available October 3rd, so a couple of weeks after the movie hits theaters, and you'll be able to get them on the official Spirit Hoods website. And one final bit of news this week, we'll go to the world of video games, which we're actually going to get into a little bit more later in the show with a different title than what I'm about to say. But what I'm about to say is Disney Princess Enchanting Storybooks is a new game coming out from Disney November 1st, a video game. It's going to be available for Nintendo Wii using the U-Draw game tablet, as well as Nintendo DS and DSi, and it's going to feature interactions with Disney princesses, including number painting scenes, coloring book pages, that kind of thing. It's going to be $29.99 for Wii and $19.99 for the portable system. So if you've got a princess fan in your family, then this may be a good game to get interactive with in the coming months. And that's it for your news from around the world this week. this week's tip comes in from Josh, who I believe was in the chat room. At least he was a little while ago. I don't know if he still is. But regardless, Josh writes, for those who are visiting during the upcoming Epcot Food and Wine Festival, you might be a bit overwhelmed by all 30 stations to try. With 180-plus items to try out, you will end up very full, not to mention very poor, if you try to cram everything into one day. Planning is the key, both in preparation of what to eat and when to eat. Skip lunch on 2 or 3 days and instead concentrate on snacking around the world. You'll have a large selection and still end up just as full. You can also use internet resources to plan out the items that you want to make sure not to miss, as well as the items that you can skip, which in my case are usually a lot of things. It's always fun to plan that sort of thing. Anyway, back to Josh's tip. He recommends going to allears.net as well as disneyfoodblog.com to find lists and pictures, and he says your stomach and wallet will thank you. Josh, thanks very much for that tip. And it's definitely true. Planning ahead for the Food and Wine Festival, even just a little bit, is definitely a good tip, because it's a lot to take in. It's certainly too much to take in one day. Lots of food to eat, lots of really good food to eat, and it's something that even if you just take the guidebook when you first get there, even if you don't plan ahead and use internet resources and just kind of check off or circle what you think you want to hit, it's always a good idea. I usually spend at least 2 eating sessions around the Food and Wine Festival in order to take it all in, because there is so much. Anyway, everyone else out there, email your tips into tips@insidethemagic.net. We've actually got 3 really fun features to get to on this week's show, and before we jump into that, I do want to put in a quick word about Lanyard Lab. If you have a business you'd like to promote, or everybody's going back to school right now, maybe you're at school and suddenly you realize, maybe you work for school and you realize, our students need name tags to wear around their necks. What are they going to hang them on? Well, customizing a lanyard is a great way to do all of that, and you can do just that over at lanyardlab.com. I'll be happy to help you out with that. If you just submit a price quote request, send us all your details via the quick and easy form on our site. I'll email you back with a price quote along with a proof showing you what your lanyards will look like. You can also feel free to call us if you have any questions. And once you get all of that together, you can just place your order online. It's as simple as that. Again, it's over at lanyardlab.com. All right, let's jump into feature number 1 this week, and this is actually one that I was going to include on last week's show, but everything ran so long that I decided to hold on to it for this week. It's more coming out of the D23 Expo, which was just it was a wonderful time, and certainly offered plenty of fun things to see and enjoy while wandering the convention halls, and the D23 Expo really had a variety of things to look at, and I want to share another one of the many exciting interactions that were available for those who attended, not only attended the Expo, but also visited the Disney Parks and Resorts Pavilion at the Expo. That's really where some of the most unique items that you could find were available for you to see. And inside the Expo was something called the Amazing Destini. And anybody who's been or anybody who was at Disneyland back in California in September of 2010 or so may be familiar with the Amazing Destini. It was an animatronic sort of experiment, if you will, as Imagineering was calling it, that they put into Disneyland just for a couple of days. Now, that Destini that was at Disneyland, this animatronic interactive figure, was not the same Destini as the one that was being shown off and tested at the D23 Expo. In fact, the one at the Expo was considerably more than what was seen at Disneyland. We've seen interactive animatronics in the past, run by a person behind the scenes, like Mr. Potato Head at Toy Story Mania. It's a technology that's still new and still interesting, but not necessarily completely groundbreaking. I mean, it is certainly advanced, but something that would be completely autonomous and not needing anybody behind the scenes would truly be a feat, and that is what Imagineering is working on with this incarnation of the the Amazing Destini that was able to chat with guests at the D23 Expo fully on its own, with some pretty incredible technology making it work behind the scenes. There was nobody backstage operating this guy. It was simply something that just operated on its own as this fun experiment. And so to tell you more about that, I actually spoke with Imagineer Josh Gorin there in the Disney Parks and Resorts Pavilion at the D23 Expo to learn more about this project. And that's what I'm going to bring you to right now. Our my chat with Josh Gorin, the Imagineer, including how D23 Expo guests were actually helping in visiting the Amazing Destini, helping Imagineering to create better theme park experiences.
My name's Josh Gorin, and I'm Senior Tech Staff with Walt Disney Imagineering Research.
So tell me a bit about the Amazing Destini here at the Expo.
So the Amazing Destini truly is that amazing. He's a demonstration of a new audio-animatronics technology from our research and development group at Imagineering. So Destini is a robotic fortune teller who's telling people's fortunes and having full, unscripted, live, interactive conversations with guests, and there's no human operator involved. There's no puppeteer, no performer, no actor. It's just Destini using sophisticated computers, sensors, and artificial intelligence to understand what guests are saying and doing and respond in character to tell their fortune.
There, what is your name? Here's what I want from you. I want to know if you know my name. Huh? What is my name?
So this is a next step in the whole living character movement?
Absolutely. The Living Character Initiative has been going on for well over 10 years now, and we're really excited about it. You know, typically we don't get a chance to talk about the technology in our parks because we want guests to just focus on having a great experience with their characters. But here, as a special treat at D23, we're able to give guests a never-before-seen, behind-the-scenes exclusive look at the technology behind the scenes. So yes, this is an absolute evolution in the tools, technologies, and techniques that we use to bring our living characters to life and have them be responsive, immersive, alive, and engaging.
I seem to remember Destini being in the parks at one point, but that was kind of a different version of this?
Right. So at Imagineering, a big part of our process is experimenting, or what we call play testing, where we take a technology that's still in development or an experience and we put it out in the parks, usually without announcing it, for just a little bit, and we videotape it or we take surveys and we see how it worked, and then we go back and we refine it. So Destini has made a few surprise appearances in the parks already, and we've used that knowledge to make him better. And actually, this experience here at D23 isn't just a showcase, it's a working play test. So we're actually using all of the information that we're gathering from talking with D23 guests to make Destini smarter. So it's great that we can share this behind-the-scenes look with D23 guests, but also that they can help make this technology better for eventually getting into the parks.
Well, I can't imagine any Disney fan coming here, especially D23 members, wanting anything better than to be able to help Imagineering on a project.
That's great. Everyone who comes to talk to Destini is helping Imagineering to make this technology better.
Okay, so tell me more about the technology. What have I got standing behind me here?
So as I mentioned, we're giving sort of a sneak peek behind-the-scenes look that we've never done before at the tech that makes Destini work. So in this space here, we've got a number of different sensors, visual and auditory, basically anything you can imagine, just like we use all our senses. This system, this software written by our Imagineers and R&D, is combining all those senses together to create a view of the world and help Destini respond in character. So over here, we have a top-down view of Destini's space. Each one of these dots represents a person, and so it also takes the vector that people are moving on, so it knows, is someone just walking by, or are they actually trying to stop and talk to me? Are these two people together in a group? Are they a group of two or of three? Is it an adult or a child? He's actually keeping track of the groups in the space, just like a performer would. And then he's using his vision system to look at people's faces, and he's actually reading emotion by looking at the expressions on the face. So we're assigning happy values, sad values, angry, surprised, impatient, and combining all this information. So just like an actor looks at his audience and changes his performance based on the response, Destini's doing the same thing. Destini also has a short-term memory, so he's looking at faces and remembering them. So when someone comes back who just saw him, he'll be able to recall that and say, hey, your fortune hasn't changed, I still remember you. And we're tracking all of this plus a whole lot more. This is kind of a simplified display to create a view of the world, and then Destini has to respond in character. Because, you know, at Disney, our technology development development is always about characters and stories and theming. And so it's really important that he stay true to his personality, because it's the personality that you fall in love with. And if we do our job right, guests aren't thinking about the tech, they're not thinking about all the computers and the sensors and the work that went on to make this happen. They're just thinking about interacting with this great character and having an amazing, memorable experience. And that's really what all of Imagineering strives to do every single day.
And the goal with this project is not necessarily just Destini, it's to further the whole spectrum of what you can do in the parks for an interactive experience.
Absolutely, that's absolutely right. So we're not proposing Destini as a specific character or attraction for any particular park right now. This is just a new character that we've created to showcase and test these technologies. Although some of these technologies have already spun off and are in the park today, hopefully in such a subtle way that people don't notice they're there. And as we continue to evolve these tools, technologies, and techniques, we hope to see more and more of these characters and this liveliness and this interactivity brought all over our parks all over the world.
I'm a big fan of the recent upgrades to the Haunted Mansion in Florida, and I understand this is not all that different in technology from what is used to attract guests for the Hitchhiking Ghosts.
That's right. That effect uses some very similar technologies, and a lot of the teams worked really close together on that as well.
So there you have it. The Amazing Destini is certainly just that, amazing, and a lot of people in the chat room are making references to Terminator 2, that perhaps Disney is actually developing Skynet, but of course not. Disney is all about entertainment and making things fun and exciting, and certainly the Amazing Destini is certainly fun and exciting and something new for the future of Disney technology and animatronics, and plenty of perhaps interactive experiences that'll be coming into the parks. I mean, imagine Disney was talking a lot about the incredible new Lumiere animatronic that's going to be in the Be Our Guest restaurant out here in Florida once that opens as part of the new Fantasyland expansion. Imagine if that animatronic was able to not only interact with you completely autonomously, talk to you one-on-one, recognizing your facial expressions, recognizing if you're in a group like the Imagineer was saying there, but also if you return and dine again, that he would be able to recognize that you've been there again and welcome you back and that kind of thing. Now, I'm not saying this technology is necessarily going into the Amazing Destini. I'm sorry, that it's actually going into Lumiere, but the Amazing Destini is an example of what potentially could or will eventually make its way into the Disney parks, and that's what's really incredible. And on top of that, the fact that anybody going to the D23 Expo was able to go there and enjoy and see and really take part in making the technology better along the way is fantastic. That it's an experiment that Imagineering R&D was working on, but involving the public and being able to bring it all together with the help of the people that were there, just the guests. Who were in attendance, just being able to line up and enjoy it. Pretty incredible stuff there. Certainly a lot to look forward to for the future of Disney parks. If that's the type of interactive experience that we can look forward to in the future, then I am certainly looking forward to it. Now, that's of course one of many things we talked about from the D23 Expo, and there is still more to share, including a little bit more coming up later in this week's show. But in the meantime, or anytime, if you want to see everything coming out of the D23 Expo that we have covered, head on over to InsideTheMagic.net/D23 Expo for plenty of videos and photos and articles and all of that kind of thing. And as I said, there is even more to share from that as well. But right now, I do want to turn away from the D23 Expo here for a bit to talk about something even more recent than that, even though the D23 Expo was just a couple of weeks ago. Just this morning was another Disney special event. It was out in California, and that event was the Disneyland Half Marathon. And, in the recent weeks, we've been talking a bit about RunDisney and marathons here on the show, mostly in the fact that I wasn't terribly interested in them, but I had listeners, many listeners write in and say, hey, we should really cover more about these marathons. Well, fortunately, one of our regular contributors, actually a couple of our regular contributors here on the show, decided to take part in the Disneyland Half Marathon this morning, and that was none other than Jeremiah Daws, who's been on the show before, certainly helped us out at a number of special events out in California on a number of times. So just a little bit ago, I had a chance to talk to him all about his experiences in running the Disneyland Half Marathon event. So I want to share even more about what went on just this morning in the wee hours of the morning with hundreds of people running through the parks. So Jeremiah, congratulations on your run. How was it being in the Disneyland Half Marathon this morning?
Oh, it was great. It was amazing. There's no better place to run than Disneyland. That's for sure.
Now, have you done a Run Disney event before? Have you done a Disneyland or Walt Disney World Marathon?
I have not. This is my first Disney event. This is I'd done a couple of half marathons before, and then a full marathon at the LA Marathon last year or earlier this year. I was excited to see what little special things Disney does to make it a step above all the other runs. And,
yeah, definitely. So tell me, how long is the Disneyland Half Marathon? How long is a half marathon, for those who don't know?
Yeah, it's 13.1 miles.
Wow. Okay, so that's very long. And how long did it take for you to finish that very long stretch of road?
It took me about 2 hours and 20 minutes. 2 hours and 23, I think. I have to wait to get my official notification of how long. But the guy who won, who ran it the fastest, did it in 1 hour and 8 minutes.
Wow. So considerably faster.
Exactly.
But I'm sure you were just there for the experience, not in it to win it necessarily. What time did the race start this morning, and where does it kick off?
It started at 6 a.m. There was the wheelchair race started at 5:59, and then a minute later, the serious runners were in Corral A. They crossed the starting line at 6 a.m. and then I was in Corral D, and we crossed about 6:20. So it was a sea of people, tons and tons of people.
And where is that located relative to Disneyland?
It starts. It's hard to explain. I guess if you're familiar with the where you cross the road, if you're walking from the Mickey and Friends parking structure, crossing the road, you cross the road and you get to downtown. It's on that road. I'm not sure what the name of that road is, but that's essentially where the starting line is. And then so back way up was just masses of people.
Well, that's what I was about to ask, is you're standing there so near the parking garage. How many people are around you? I mean, is it hundreds? Is it thousands of people?
It's wall-to-wall people on that road. Like, as far as you can see, backing up to, the road kind of goes up and around the bend, and like you can't see the end of it. And looking, in Corral D, we're right in the middle, so looking forward, I could not see the end of it. I could barely see the starting line, and looking back, I couldn't see the last person. So
wow. Okay, so you start your 2 hour journey here. What do you see along the way as you move through? What are the highlights of running a Disneyland half marathon?
Well, let me pull up my pictures just to remind me. Because your focus is definitely a little distracted because you're running, but
right.
But it's great. You start by entering. I can't. Let me see. You start by seeing Mickey Mouse at the starting line. Mickey and Minnie, and they're in jogging attire, but everybody's trying to take pictures, and the announcer's like, no, don't. We need to keep you moving. Don't take pictures. Keep going. So that was unfortunate. But then you go down and around the down. I wish I had remembered the road names, but. You go down and you go sort of between the two parks until you get to the, I would say, the east side of the park, the main entrance. I guess where the main entrance used to be. Okay. On the east side of the whole park, and that's where you go in. And so you're kind of seeing the Tower of Terror on your left, and then you turn to the right, and So you start out by going into California Adventure through the Hollywood Pictures backlot.
Oh, okay.
And that's sort of the first thing you see. And then you turn left and go up in through that street where Electronica is, and you get and they're playing the Tron music and everything. and then we ran through where the new track has been laid. The red car track has been laid. I think we may be the first people that ever walked on this track because it is usually closed to the public.
Right, yeah.
And everything. And so you head out and you pass through. You go from there to Bugs Land and then you swing around. You don't really get to go into Paradise Pier and all of that. You swing around and you go through like Grizzly River Run and stuff like that. And then they send you out of California Adventure and you go just run across the main walkway between California Adventure and Disneyland, and you enter the main gate. You enter the way you normally enter Disneyland. That's the first you see of Disneyland. I can keep going, walking you through it if you want me to.
Yeah, well, just some highlights as you pass through Disneyland. What are the favorite sights that you saw as you were going through?
Well, I mean, obviously, a few people running through Main Street when they're not yelling at you. They encourage you to keep running.
Yeah.
And so that was great. And then you get to the castle and there's a float of the princesses. So the Tangled princess was on there and Snow White. And people would stop and stand in line and take pictures with all of the characters. It was hilarious.
Despite the fact that you're supposed to be running a race.
Exactly. And it was like, oh, is there a race going on? No, there's characters. It's like, I have to go to pictures. And so you run through Tomorrowland and you see Darth Vader and the Stormtroopers, and they're playing Star Wars music. And I saw one runner tried to break in line to take a picture of Darth Vader, and Darth Vader just chased him down, and it was quite funny. And let's see, we had a great view of the Matterhorn. I don't, because we were in there like 7:30 or 7-ish. And so the sun just hitting the Matterhorn from that angle, I'd just never seen a picture of the Matterhorn like that.
Yeah, I think I saw your brother Josh had posted a picture of that, and it looked like it was just glowing orange.
Oh, it was amazing. It was an amazing sight. And then you run through Fantasyland, and there was Maleficent in Fantasyland, which was cool because you never really see her in the parks, other than like the Halloween parties and things like that. And then you cut through the castle and just you kind of come out the back side, from the back side to the front side of the castle, and there's people taking pictures of, and everything. So that was definitely a highlight, seeing the castle.
Sure. Are there a lot of people cheering you on throughout the route? Are there specific places where friends and family are?
People could buy early bird passes to be a cheer team.
Oh, okay.
I think they called it. There were guests in the park, but not very many. But there were mostly cast members just cheering you pretty much everywhere you went. There's cast members. I think the highlight for me was running through New Orleans Square, and you got the pirate ship like right there in the Rivers of America, blasting the Pirates of the Caribbean music, and
nice.
It was great. It was amazing.
So a very themed experience throughout the whole thing. It's not like you're just running a race, and you're running through Disneyland, obviously, and they made an effort to bring out the characters and the music and really immerse you in the whole experience as you're running.
Right, yeah, floats from time to time. I mean, a lot of the Sound Stational floats were throughout the place. Like there was a Sound Stational Little Mermaid float, and they played the Sound Stational theme a lot as you're running, which is, it's not bad. It's motivating and
it's peppy.
And, very peppy. So my biggest complaint though is like by mile 4 you're done with Disneyland. You go through a lot of the backstage, which I think was one of the coolest things, was seeing all the behind the scenes of the whole race. But by mile 4 you're wiped out. It's like there's nothing else to see other than like Angel Stadium and everything else. You're just like, I don't know. I blew my time as I was trying to go for a certain time, but I ran so slow through Disneyland that I was just so completely distracted that I was like, I had to run faster to catch up, and I threw all my energy in it. It was so funny.
So what did you ultimately, when you finished the race, what did you receive for winning or for finishing, not for winning?
Yeah, every racer, every runner gets a big gold D with metal with a D and then a sculpture of the castle and everything. That I mean, it was a beautiful, definitely one of the best medals I've ever. It is the best medal I've ever won from or got from racing.
Very nice.
That was fantastic.
Now, you raced along with your brother Josh and his wife. How did they do? Did you kind of stick together the whole time, or did they go off on their own?
We stuck together through the Disneyland part.
Mm-hmm.
It was pretty special. I mean, we were looking everywhere. I mean, in the backstage, I have to tell you, the coolest thing was seeing all the Jungle Cruise animals that were being worked on.
Mm-hmm.
There were skeletons of the zebras and the giraffe and all this, like without their skin on, and then you run a few more feet, and there's a stack of all of their pelts. So it looked like somebody just skinned them all, and there's just tossed. I mean, I could have gone and picked them up, and, looked at them.
Yeah.
And it was just, ride vehicles everywhere. That was cool. So we stuck together for that, and I tried to beat my time and failed miserably.
Well, so
it was not the day.
yeah, so how does running a Disneyland marathon compare to those other non-Disney races that you've ran?
Well, it's great. I mean, it is. If you're going to do it, you have to do the Disney one because it sets the standard. I mean, they put every the Disney magic into the whole thing, and even down to like one of the stupid little things that we loved was when we were signing in yesterday at the expo, there was the path to go get your to get all of your packet and your bib and your shirt was it was just a walkway down into the underbelly of the underground of the Disneyland Hotel, and they had put a carpet with lined racing stripes on the ground and silhouettes of the Disney characters. It's like, this is the touch that you get from Disney that I've never seen in anything else because it's a generic expo. But they I mean, and obviously it's just an expo, but they put just the little touches that make it a little bit more special, and it was great.
Very nice. So will you do it again? Are you going to do another Disney race?
Oh, for sure. Well, the great thing is they have this coast-to-coast medal that if you do a Disneyland race and a Disney World race, I think that the way it works is if you do it in the same calendar year, you get an extra medal that's the coast-to-coast. I mean, you're super dedicated. And I think we're going to try for that sometime in the next couple of years.
Great. Well, if you come out here to Florida and do it, I'll see if I can come out and root you on, and then we'll check back with you and see how it goes next time.
That'd be great.
Well, congratulations again, and I'm sure now you want to go get some rest.
Yes, for sure. A lot.
All right. Well, enjoy, and thanks again. So there you have it, a bit of coverage from this morning's Disneyland Half Marathon, and they're at Disneyland through the resort. Interesting to hear all of the themed elements that make up a Disneyland marathon. Certainly makes me a bit more interested in it. Of course, as Jeremiah was just saying, there's the whole non-Disney half, or more than half of it. He said it was 13 miles around total, and only about 4 miles of it was actually Disney parks related. The rest was just elsewhere in the Anaheim area, and that part doesn't sound nearly as interesting to me. I think, heading through the parks and being able to see it in the early hours and going backstage and, just having the masses running through is certainly a fun experience, and all the characters and the floats and all of that sounds great. But for me, I don't know that all of that is enticing enough for me to have a reason to personally run in it. But I'll have to perhaps check out, go and cheer on some folks in an upcoming race and just see it all in person for myself. Since so many of you out there wrote in and said that I really should not only cover it more, but also experience it perhaps for myself as well. So thanks again to Jeremiah, and congratulations to him and his brother Josh and Josh's wife and everybody out there who ran the Disneyland Half Marathon this morning. Great job, whether you came in first or last or anywhere in between. Just completing, I think, is a wonderful feat, and you get one of those medals to prove it. And probably right now you're off sleeping somewhere, since that was just a few hours ago. So yeah, there it is, a bit of Run Disney coverage here on Inside the Magic.
Hey, Ricky.
Hi, Ricky. Hi, Ricky.
Hey, Ricky.
Hi, Ricky.
Hi, Ricky.
Hey, Ricky.
Ricky, this is amazing.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls.
Inside the Magic listener feedback.
So as we approach the hour mark of this week's show, I'm actually going to once again do the same thing I did last week on the show, where I had another segment planned this week, but I'm going to hold it for next week's show just because, well, we're at about an hour, and that's usually where I'd like to keep the show around. So I made mention earlier that we'd be talking a bit more about the D23 Expo and more specifically some video games, and that's we'll just hold that for next week. So I was going to talk a bit about Connect Disneyland Adventures. If you want to see a bit about that already, you can head over to InsideTheMagic.net, or you can wait until next week's show. But right now, I did want to include a bit of listener feedback here at the end before wrapping things up, so let's jump right into that. First up is an email from Mick, who writes, first, I wanted to thank you for the show. I've listened to it since it began, and I look forward to it every week. It's elevated my Disney park fandom to new heights. Anyway, I just did a quick post on my blog about being a park fan stuck in the Rocky Mountain region, about listening to Disney music at home, and mentioned the value of park tunes to those like me who are working on their own Disney park music collection. This post isn't important, but it got me thinking, why haven't you promoted park tunes more on your show? The site is a huge resource to me, and I would imagine many, many people would benefit from it. Since your show gets new followers all the time, I just thought I'd bring it to your attention. Please don't think I'm trying to tell you what to do. Just wanted everybody to know about your other site. Well, Mick, thanks very much. I always appreciate an opportunity to give a plug to one of my other sites, and that is parktunes.com. It is something I probably should mention more often here on the show, and it was something I developed a few years ago, maybe 3 years ago, somewhere around there, essentially in response to whenever I would frequently get the question, where do you get all the music that you include on Inside the Magic? Well, I couldn't always answer that question. There's so many different sources where you can get music that you hear in and around the parks that it's tough to always pinpoint that. So I tried to compile as much as possible into one website, that is parktunes.com, where you can get commercially available music. Now, there's plenty of Disney music out there that is either currently, is not currently commercially available. Maybe it was at one point and it is no longer. Maybe you could get it in the parks. Maybe you could get it online. Maybe you could get it from here or there. Maybe it was freely downloadable at some point. Now it's not. Regardless, what I tried to do is pull everything that was currently available together, at least in the best version that I could find. Not always the exact version you hear in the parks, but the closest commercially available version, either on Amazon or iTunes for MP3 download. So that is what parktunes.com is. So if anyone wants to check that out, please feel free. And Mick, thanks for the email. Next up, an email from Justin from Pennsylvania, who writes, I had a question about living in Florida. Do you pay a lot of money in tolls to get around town? I drove around there last year and noticed that there seemed to be toll roads everywhere. Do you know all the side roads, or do you just take the toll roads? Are the toll roads something that everyone who might move down there needs to consider as part of the cost of living? Justin, that's a really good question. You know, I get questions all the time about people interested in moving to the Orlando area, usually about, you know, where should I live, what parts of town are good, bad, etc. But I think you're the first one to ever to ask me about toll roads, and it is important because you're right. There are quite a few toll roads that I take quite frequently, and I have essentially made it just part of the cost of living. Where I live, I have easy access to 3 different toll roads that I take very often, the 429, the Turnpike, and the 408, which takes you east-west across the whole area. And I really don't even think twice about it. I just kind of, you know, we've got SunPass, which is automatically paying, or ePass, or whatever it's called, automatically paying the tolls. You know, just register a credit card with them, and it just kind of run through, and it'll pay as you go through without even realizing it. I honestly just don't even pay attention to it because it is so much faster to take those toll roads than it is to go up and down the non-toll roads. The exception, of course, is I-4, which takes you essentially from, well, in this area, Universal Studios to Disney. It's probably the best way to put it. Of course, it goes much, much further than that, take you way over to Daytona as well as to Tampa and Busch Gardens and all of that. But you know, I-4 is not a toll road, so you can get by pretty well on that and many, many other side roads. You can avoid tolls if you want to, but more often than not, avoiding toll roads will mean that it's going to take longer as well. So for me, yeah, tolls are just kind of part of living here, which is fine by me. I'd rather move faster and pay a little bit of money and then sit in the car forever waiting for traffic. So hopefully that answers your question. And now let's go over to a voice message.
Hey, Ricky, it's Dave from Little Rock. Hey, I'm standing in line of the Indiana Jones ride in Disneyland. I was going to let you know, I found out this morning that the Matterhorn, it's up and running, but they're not putting the new cars on until next year, he said. but it is up and running. Thanks. Have a great day.
Thanks very much for that call. Good to hear the Matterhorn has reopened as scheduled. In fact, I think it reopened a couple of days early. And the new vehicles that we talked about recently here on the show and that I posted about over on the website were once again in testing on the mountain, but apparently are not ready for full use quite yet. I guess that's going to happen next year, as you said, when the ride closes again for refurbishment. But in the meantime, it's good old Matterhorn to enjoy. All right, looks like we've got, 2, 3, 4 more emails before we wrap this up. Next is from Nick from England, who writes, I just wanted to give some advice for those who may want to visit or who are visiting Disneyland Paris for the first time. Essentially, it's to prepare for a clash of cultures. The behavior and culture of continental Europe does not always go well with American or British culture, especially a lot more smoking in the parks, people acting a bit more rude, such as barging and queue jumping, and a mix of many different languages. Disney copes the best they can by ensuring that there's at least both English and French. Most cast members speak both, if not German, Spanish, and Italian as well. You may not get the same experience as in the American parks, but there are definitely some good finds, such as Space Mountain, Frontierland, with the best Big Thunder Mountain, in my opinion, and many more of the good old favorites. Just remember that the park has to cater for the locals, who are the continental Europeans. Another tip, there are 2 covered arcades running down both sides of Main Street behind the shops. Not many people are aware of them, so it can be a great way to pass the parade or crowds on Main Street, or if it's raining. Nick, thanks very much for all those tips. I don't personally plan on hitting the parks over there in the very near future. Maybe maybe in the sort of near future. We'll see when we decide to make it out there. But I will definitely keep all of that in mind and certainly appreciate the cultural differences when heading overseas. Next, an email from Julie. Speaking of overseas, Julie writes, love the show. Excuse me. My mom, son, and I are visiting Florida for Walt Disney World on November 2nd through the 18th. We are traveling all the way from Glasgow, Scotland. Number one, what is good for seniors to do and see at Walt Disney World? My mom is quite up for a roller coaster, not inverted, but if she wants to take a bit of time out, what should she do? And 2, I'd like to treat my mom to some spa treatments, a haircut, manicure, etc. I'm wondering if you or any listeners could recommend a spa at Walt Disney World within easy reach of Walt Disney World to visit. Well, Julie, interesting questions there. Another pair of questions that I have not been asked before. As far as seniors and roller coasters without inversions, sounds like she'll enjoy if she's up for it. Certainly Big Thunder Mountain and Space Mountain at the Magic Kingdom. Neither of those go upside down, but they're still thrilling roller coasters, and depending on how much thrill she's looking for, she may be able to handle those. You definitely want to avoid the Rock and Roller Coaster because that goes upside down over at Disney's Hollywood Studios. And then Expedition Everest is kind of borderline. You might want to avoid that one too. It doesn't go upside down, but it's pretty thrilling, so you might want to give it a shot yourself before taking your mom on that one as well. As far as taking a bit of time out while you do other roller coasters, there's always plenty of things to enjoy. If it's just as simple as sitting and watching people walking by, just people watching, that's always entertaining. You can wander through shops, and even if you're not going to buy anything, there's a lot of fun things to look at there. A lot of roller coasters are just fun to watch from the outside. If you're riding something like Expedition Everest, there's a great sitting area over near the exit where she could keep an eye out for you and watch you go over the big drop and that kind of thing. But if she's actually looking to just go out on her own, there's certainly plenty of non-ride activities that can be enjoyed throughout the parks. It's all about taking in the details that you find as you move from area to area. Look for a live band, or look for some characters, or just read the signs and all of that kind of thing. There's so much detail packed into any Disney park that there's always something to entertain you, even if it's not specifically taking a ride. As far as spa treatments go, unfortunately, when you're here, the Grand Floridian Spa is going to be closed for there's all kinds of ongoing projects going on over at that hotel, and so you're not going to be able to go into there. But pretty much, if you call over to Walt Disney World, they'll be able to recommend a number of spa options for you to find. There's certainly no shortage of that kind of thing to be found throughout the parks and nearby. It's really something that I don't have a lot of personal experience with, but I know the options and availability is there. So I would just recommend calling over, not to pass the buck or anything, but I would recommend calling over to the Walt Disney World line and saying exactly what types of spa treatments you're looking for, and they could recommend exactly which ones you can enjoy. I Love Strawberry in the chat room is recommending two things, also in response to your question. A Test Track is a sort of roller coaster-esque attraction that your mom would probably be able to enjoy over at Epcot. Certainly doesn't go upside down, but it does move pretty quickly, so she could enjoy that. And then she's also recommending Saratoga Springs to check out for some extra enjoyment and treatments and that sort of thing. So thanks for that in the chat room, and thanks, Julie, for your email. Next is an email from Maggie, who writes, thanks for all that you do. You do such an amazing job with it. My question is, what is the difference between Destination D and the D23 Expo? My mom and I want to go to the next Destination D coming up next year since we live in Florida, but is the D23 Expo worth waiting for? We're wondering which one is the better investment and the best event to go to. Well, Maggie, definitely a good question. They're very, very different events, completely different events, in fact. It depends on what you're looking for. The D23 Expo, which just passed, is not going to take place again until 2013, presumably in Anaheim. A specific date has not yet been set, and I would liken the D23 Expo mostly to a behind-the-scenes look at Disney. You get one-on-one with Imagineers, you get to see projects that they're working on, you get to see what's up and coming from not only the theme parks, but movies and television and all of that. There's, a bit of current things going on, but it's not really about the same sort of Disney magic that's created in the theme parks. Instead, it's behind the Disney magic and the making of. And that's really what sort of the D23 Expo is all about. It's for everybody who wants to know everything that goes on behind the scenes. Now, Destination D has that component as well, but it also has that element of Disney magic. There's a lot of presentations that are very different than what is at the D23 Expo. It's less of a focus on what is now and current and ongoing, and more of a focus on, at least so far, what has been in the past. The Destination D out here in Florida was focusing on Walt Disney World. The one that was out at Disneyland was focusing on the history of Disneyland. It's unclear at this point as to exactly what the future of Destination D is, but based on what we've seen so far, it's really lots of panels of people who have worked on projects in the past for Disney and exploring, stories and funny details, or rather details and funny stories about the creation of familiar attractions and the theme parks and all of that. And in addition, you'll find some really excellent presentations. The conclusion of Destination D Walt Disney World was an incredible concert experience with Richard Sherman and a cast member choir and many other musicians, and they brought out the Dream Finder from Journey into Imagination. It was just this incredible Disney magical moment that really doesn't happen as much at the D23 Expo. There are those moments there as well, like when the Disney Princess Voices got up on stage recently and sang, or there was the Muppets performances, but they weren't quite the same, creation stage show moment that happened at Destination D. So they're really two different types of events. Destination D is certainly smaller than D23 Expo with no convention floor. It's all about attending the presentations for that as well. So hopefully that gives you a better idea of which is which. And finally, here's one more really interesting question from Sean, who writes, less than a year ago, I discovered your podcast, and I can't tell you how much I've enjoyed them. I do have one question for you. For many of your movie reviews, it seems you're not a fan of 3D movies, and yet you seem to be a fan of 3D images, such as the one you've posted through the use of a Nintendo 3DS. Personally, I enjoy the added depth perception of a 3D movie and always see a film in 3D if it's offered. I'm just curious, is there a particular aspect of 3D that you don't like in a movie, yet you do like in images? Sean, a very, very good question. There's certainly a distinction to be made there, and I can boil it down to two things, really, why I'm not a huge fan of 3D films in the theaters, whereas I do like the whole 3D aspect on the Nintendo 3DS. Number one, the 3DS and similar devices are completely glasses-free. You just look at it, and there it is in 3D. I love that glasses-free experience. It removes all of the limitations that glasses provide. When you're watching a movie in the theaters, you put on those 3D glasses, and it darkens the whole image, and it drives me nuts that I can't see the colors and the screen as vibrant and exactly as it should be seen, that it's taken down such a huge notch as a result of wearing the glasses. It's wonderful to be able to see the 3D images on the 3DS just by looking at the screen. Number 2, the cost. You have to pay extra to see a 3D movie in the theaters, whereas 3D images that I post online are completely free, and you know, that you can get on the 3DS or you can download or whatever. I don't feel like there should be an upcharge for seeing 3D movies in the theaters. I feel like if they want to present a movie in 3D and that's how the director is intending the movie to be presented, well, just make that what the movie is. You know, don't charge extra to see the 3D version versus the 2D version. Just say, here's the movie, the end. I mean, you go to a Disney theme park and you see Captain EO or, It's Tough to Be a Bug, and it's just a 3D movie. They don't say, well, here, you can take the 2D version, or we're going to make you pay $5 more to see the 3D version. No, it just is a 3D movie. And if it's intended to be seen in 3D in the theaters, just make it a 3D movie. You know, I understand making, 3D extra because you got to pay for the glasses and all of that, but, tell everybody to bring your own glasses, and then maybe you have to pay extra if you need them. Otherwise, you can just bring them in. Anyway, so that's kind of the distinction as far as I could see between what I do with the 3DS and posting 3D images over at parksin3d.com from seeing a 3D movie in the theater. Beyond that, it is kind of gimmicky, 3D in general, and what I'm doing with the 3D parks is very, very gimmicky. And it's fun to just look at a gimmicky set of images, but I don't really like the gimmicky. And theme parks, it's fun. It's supposed to be gimmicky. But in the movies, it doesn't really always serve a great purpose. So hopefully that answers your question, and that'll do it for listener feedback this week.
Tomorrow.
And there's where we're going to wrap up show 335 of Inside the Magic. Hopefully you enjoyed our look at the Amazing Destini from the D23 Expo. Certainly some incredible technology there, or amazing as they're dubbing it, which it certainly is. Can't wait to see what Imagineering is planning on doing with that technology once it's fully developed and integrating it into the parks. Also, good to hear a bit about Disneyland Half Marathon, something I'm not terribly familiar with, but now at least we hear a first-hand account of what it is like to run through the parks and not get yelled at for running, which is certainly a unique experience. Coming up next week, as I said earlier, I'll be featuring a bit about Connect Disneyland Adventures and my hands-on approach and interaction with that. You can head on over to the website already to read about that if you want, and also see some video as well. And then I'm sure we'll feature more than just that next week. Also, I do want to thank Magical Travel for sponsoring this week's episode of Inside the Magic. You can find out more about their travel services by visiting magicaltravel.com. And be sure to visit us over at lanyardlab.com to see all of the different styles and custom lanyard options that we have available. You can request a price quote today to receive a free digital preview of your lanyard design. And between episodes of this show, I do encourage you to visit InsideTheMagic.net. It is your source for Disney and theme park news. You'll find each week's show notes, as well as links to stories and background music listings, as well as all of our podcasts, videos, photos, news articles, and plenty more. You can also find us on Twitter and Facebook and YouTube to stay up to date with all of the latest from Disney and theme park fun, especially as we head into the Halloween season. If you're a fan of that like I am, you are not going to want to miss all the coverage that we have for all of the fun Halloween events from Disney and beyond. So I do want to thank all of you for listening every week, or those of you watching live, those of you participating in the chat room, or watching live on the video, or watching later on YouTube. Thanks very much for being our loyal Inside the Magic audience. And to all of you, have a magical week. Bye.
There's a great big beautiful tomorrow. Just a